G'day viewers. I thought I'd make this little video for you for a lot of people out there doing their own solar and doing their own off-grid power systems for their holiday shacks and camping trailers. Big thing in Australia is a lot of people go out there camping. So I'm just doing this video to explain a few things if you're trying to make your portable mains power or 240 volt power out in the bush. So I'll explain a few things. The double pole circuit breaker on the left, it's a C-curve, it's 63 amps and it's DC and it's fed from the top. So if you're running a battery, you'd put the battery leads into the top, your positive on the right, negative on the left obviously, and that one's rated for, like I said, 250 volts. I'd only use that on low voltage, probably 50 volts. The one on the right is much higher rating. That's rated at, that's a Gaia, that's 500 volt DC, once again fed from the top. I wouldn't use that as an isolating switch. I'd use that purely as current protection. It's 10 amps, and from there we'll move on to the AC isolators, especially if you're running a generator or you've got grid but you're mixing your grid with your solar power. We use this isolator here. This is a single pole and you switch the active, and one of these is a neutral, one closest to the switch is a neutral and the other one's the earth, but you only need to switch the active conductor because your neutral is tied to earth and it's part of your protective earthing system. Well, they're tied together at the neutral bar, so you only need to switch the active or line, live or hot as it's called in other countries. The next one is what I'd switch the output AC with. That's normally you'd use that for 3-phase. Both these weatherproof switches, and once again you've got active and neutral links in there as well, but in this case I do it slightly different. From the inverter, you'd have your earth going through your earth bar obviously, but I'd switch the active and the neutral on these two poles here, and the third pole I would use that for an indicator light or a PLC input or microcontroller input, just to say the switch is open or closed. That's just a handy extra contact. Both of those switches are 35 amps, and you can put the small 2-pole DC circuit breakers, you can put them in little cases like this, and they're quite weatherproof when they're fitted with cable glands or conduit into them. Now your solar cell isolator, this is a PV array DC isolator. That's a special switch and I'll show you why. In here we've got 3 different poles on each side, so we've got a total of 6 poles, but one side is for the negative, one side's for the positive obviously. You can feed them in the top or the bottom, it doesn't matter. Obviously you've got an earth connector up there, but the point is they're 3 poles in series, so at the same time you've got 3 poles breaking the circuit in each of the legs, so you've got a total of 6 poles breaking the DC circuit. And that's extremely helpful. That is should be used as your main PV array isolator. Don't use the circuit breakers as switches. You want something like this and like the AC isolators I just showed you. Then we go straight from there, we'll go on to the circuit breakers. Now here we've got a few Hagers, good quality single pole circuit breakers. Yeah, I'd probably feed, I probably wouldn't use those, not on especially a do-it-yourself power system. I'd go something like this, which is, we call them RCBOs. They've got different names depending on where you are in the world. But this, any leakage current in this thing it's a safety switch combined with a circuit breaker. That's a Clipsal, that's a C-Curve 32 amp. I'm actually going to fit that to the house for the stove. So that's a safety switch and overcurrent protection device. Now, we hear a lot about these, I don't use these, well, not much. I don't use these Wago connectors like that, these things here. If I have to do a connection in floating wires, in junction boxes, if I'm not using a terminal strip, I'll use something like this. And your Wago terminals are much smaller, but you have one wire in each of those terminals. But this one here, you can easily put 4 conductors of, say, 2.5 mil in there. I think they'll cap off a 16 mil by itself, you know, if you just want to keep it safe while you're like disconnecting or something. Cap the circuit out. And in Australia, this is our general purpose TPS, that stands for thermoplastic sheath. That's the white sheath. Now this cable is generally rated at V90 or V75 for the lower quality. It's a multi-stranded, 7-stranded cable. It will go into the Wagos, and it's more at home in these BP type connectors. We call them BPs because they used to be made by Blue Point back in the day, and they actually used to be Bakelite when I first started my apprenticeship in '74. A lot of them were Bakelite, and the earth connectors are a double screw version of that. And back in '74, the earth connectors were bare, but now the earth connectors are insulated, but with holes at both ends, whereas this one here has a cap on one end and a hole on the other. So it sits on the, basically sits like that. And you twist all the conductors together, and you screw it up tight. And I've seen those well over 40 years. Not a problem. You might call me old school, but I don't really trust these Wago things. These are way proven over years and years of use. So that was just a bit of a tip for what sort of isolators to use and what sort of circuits to use them in, and how to use them when you're doing your installation, or if you're doing it yourself. It makes it really easy if you've got the right gear. And I'd recommend, if you're working with lethal power, get an electrician to, at the minimum, check your work, because even after we've done our wiring, we carry out comprehensive tests with insulation testers and earth leakage testers and all sorts of stuff, and fault loop impedance testing. There's at least 4 different tests we will do on an installation, and we check every wire and make sure it all works. So I don't care how good you think you are, you still got to test and verify all your circuitry. I thought I'd just throw that out there, show you a few of the things I use, and you'll see my finished installation. Mine's sort of going through an evolution, a bit of a development. We're going to expand the solar panels out, probably going to end up with, I think we'll probably have about 20 or more panels on the roof. Yeah, easy. Anyway, my inverter's working quite well. We're running on batteries at the moment, so it's all good. And yeah, stay safe with electricity. You will, it can kill you in 1/100th of a second, and if you're running on 60 cycles, it can kill you even quicker. So be safe, always isolate, test for dead, and don't get bitten by those bitey wires. Cheers, bears, and we'll catch you in another video.